I am Sara, Mark's daughter. Thank you for being here this morning with us to celebrate Dad. There are some themes in my speech that have been said, which just confirms them all to me. Like, whether you knew my dad for 50 years or 5 minutes, you would know that he was dependable and faithful. He was honest and humble and selfless. And without a doubt, he loved his family. And I had the privilege to know him for 34 years. And to say that we had a special relationship is an understatement. From the moment I was born, he loved me more than Daniel, just kidding. He loved me fiercely and dedicated his life to protecting me. And at times I didn't understand his desire to diligently guard me, like chasing away boys. But I became reliant on him as my covering and my shield. As Daniel and I grew up, Dad worked so hard to provide for our family, but he was always home for dinner, and he was never too tired to play with us. He would tell us bedtime stories about characters that he would make up, and he would read us books using different funny voices. He would wrestle with us. He would build things for us, backyard swing sets, sandboxes, ant farms, and rabbit cages. Often he had a helping hand in our school projects, and they always turned out incredible. For years, he took me to piano lessons every week. I attended junior high at Maranatha Christian Schools, and Dad was my teacher for my worship class. When we would sing, we would complain that the songs required us to sing the notes too high. And he would come around and sing it for us and say, "If I can sing it, so can you." In high school, he encouraged me to play and sing with him in his bands, and he always gave me the confidence I needed to perform. As I got older and more mature, I felt Dad's presence in my life like the comforting feeling of a secure embrace. I always knew he would do absolutely anything for me and never once questioned his love and devotion for me. When I graduated high school, Dad wrote me a card, and he wrote to me, "Over the years, as I have watched you grow, I have prayed for God to have his loving hands on your heart. He has been so faithful to protect you and guide you along the way. Be in God's will always and trust in him. I love you. Love, Dad." And God answered my dad's prayers. Dad's embrace extended to Steve when we married 13 years ago. And Dad patiently worked with Steve on countless house projects. He showed up to fix anything that broke, and he loved Steve as his second son. Any renovation vision that I would dream up, him and Steve would build it. But it was never about our house or the broken toilet or the Saturday we spent building a fence. Dad didn't care what he was needed for. He just wanted to be with us. He poured into our lives and deepened our relationship through dedicating time with us. And then 7 years ago, we had a baby girl, Sage, and I saw my big, strong dad melt completely for his granddaughter. Every moment he spent with her consisted of making up special games, singing, creating art, and showing her unending love. And Sage named him Papa. And our son David came next. David is named David Mark. after Steve's father and mine. And at this point, Dad was getting out the power tools, building playhouses, and playing with trucks and dinosaurs, because nothing would stand in the way of Dad having fun with his grandchildren. And then 2 years ago, we had our third baby, whose name is James. And from the beginning, there was a special connection between James and my dad. It's clear that in James's mind, there was no greater person in this world. We had seen our other children go through this Papa phase, but James was committed and determined to let everyone know that Papa was his favorite person on the planet. With no exaggeration, they were absolutely inseparable. At such a young age, James is able to feel the embrace my dad had extended to each family member. And Dad was so proud of each of my children. Sometimes our entire conversations would be about everything he loved about each of them. And by loving my children so deeply, Dad was constantly telling me how proud he was of me as a mom. So we are grieving for each of our children as they process the loss of their treasured Papa. We're also having another, and our fourth baby, she'll never meet Papa on earth here, but we know she'll know Papa. Through her siblings and our stories, she will feel Dad's love for her extended from heaven. In the last few years, Dad became sick, but he was even more intentional about cultivating a relationship with me. We talked almost daily about our gardens, and he was always teaching me new things. But the greatest, most significant gift that Dad ever gave me is not something that I can see or touch. Dad was the best earthly example of my Heavenly Father. Dad made it easy for me to trust the Lord because he was such an amazing example of Jesus' love, dedication, and protection. Dad led me to have faith in Jesus because he was faithful to me and my family. All my life, he imparted wise counsel, gave me confidence to trust God's love for me, and created a legacy of faith. And though Dad isn't here to hold my hand anymore, he paved a road for me to continue walking with my Heavenly Father. Because Dad was my earthly protector and shield, I can trust Jesus as my perfect covering. He was a gardener, but he was a gardener of people. Just like how he knew what each plant in his garden needed and how to tenderly care for everyone, so also did he approach each person that he loved. So as we walk through this next season of life without Dad, we all feel the absence of his presence profoundly. But on the day that my dad passed away, the morning, I was able to go to the hospital and say goodbye to him, even though he couldn't respond to me at that point. But as I held his hand, I knew he heard me share all the reasons why I love him and will miss him. I promised to take care of my family, our family, and to take care of his garden. And I will always cherish that most terrible and precious last moment with Dad. Only now can I express the magnitude of his gift of faith he left behind. But the seeds he planted in me during the last 34 years will continue to grow. He has left me with what I need to continue his legacy, including a huge detailed binder of all of his gardening knowledge, research, and notes. It's that thick. So now I'm the gardener for his garden. And now when I go to my parents' house and visit Mom, I go out into Dad's garden and I put on his hat, his gardening hat, and I tend to his plants. And Dad's garden is going to help me heal as I talk to him and care for his plants. And imagine what his garden looks like in heaven right now. I know he can't wait to show me each perfect plant and teach me how to tend in God's beautiful heavenly garden. So in this way, I will always feel close to my dad. He gardened in my life and was an example of how to selflessly serve others, trust in the Lord, and endlessly love my family.